All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into an international incident that sent some serious shockwaves across the globe. And believe it or not, it all kicked off with just one sentence.
And here it is. This is the quote that started it all. If we think we are going down, we'll take half the world down with us. I mean, wow, that's not a line from a blockbuster movie. Those were the words that set the stage for a massive diplomatic crisis.
So, you've got to be asking, who said this and where? Well, according to the reports, these words came from Pakistan's top general in late 2025. But here's the real kicker. He allegedly said it while on U.S. soil. That fact alone instantly turned a regional tension into a major American problem.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down the exact words that lit the fuse on this international firestorm. We'll look at the immediate and pretty furious global reaction, and then we'll get into the strategic fallout. This is a real-time case study in just how much words can matter.
Okay, so let's start with the statements themselves. What exactly was said that caused such an enormous international uproar? Let's take a closer look.
So it wasn't just this, huge apocalyptic nuclear threat. There was also a very specific economic one. The general reportedly called out the Jamnagar refinery by name. This is a massive, critical piece of civilian infrastructure. We're not talking about a threat against a military base, but against a whole nation's economic engine.
And then, things just got kind of weird. You've got to hear this analogy. India was described as a shining Mercedes and Pakistan as a dump truck. The point? If the truck slams into the car, they both get wrecked. This strange comparison left officials scratching their heads, trying to figure out the mindset behind it. Is that a threat? Is it some sort of dark, self-deprecating humor? Whatever it was, it raised a ton of red flags.
So let's just lay it all out on the table, right? You've got this massive nuclear threat. You've got a specific economic target. You have a threat to retaliate over infrastructure like dams. And on top of it all, a reassertion of the claim over Kashmir, calling it the country's jugular vein. This wasn't just one stray comment. It was a full spectrum of provocative statements. Now, words like these are never spoken in a vacuum. The reaction was fast, it was furious, and it created a political firestorm that pulled in governments, former officials, and the public.
And the backlash came, and it came fast. We're talking official government channels, former military leaders with some very sharp opinions, and of course, citizens literally protesting on the streets. Everyone had something to say. Some of the harshest condemnation actually came from former officials. One former Pentagon official didn't pull any punches, describing the general as, and I'm quoting here, Osama bin Laden in a suit, and even called for the U.S. to revoke his visa immediately. That is incredibly blunt language, especially from someone with that kind of defense background. Just wow. Officially, India's Ministry of External Affairs denounced the remarks as deeply irresponsible and risky. But they also made a very sharp diplomatic point. They called it regrettable that these kinds of threats were made on the soil of a friendly country, the United States. The subtext there is crystal clear. The words were bad enough, but where they were said made it so much worse.
But this wasn't just happening in government buildings. No, this hit the streets. The Pakistani diaspora in the U.S. organized very vocal protests right where the general was. You had chants of mass murderer and shame on you. They even used the powerful Urdu phrase, Pakistaniyo ke qatil, which means killers of Pakistanis. Think about that. They're accusing him of being a killer of his own people. That is a profound rejection of his leadership.
Okay, let's just take a quick breath and recap this whole mess. It started with these wild nuclear threats. Then came the specific economic targets and that bizarre dump truck analogy. All of that led to immediate diplomatic fallout and very public, very loud protests. This was a multi-front crisis, and it was sparked entirely by just a few sentences.
So, in the middle of all this chaos, how did India play its hand? Well, its response moved way beyond just immediate reaction. It was calculated. It was strategic. First thing you have to understand is the specific language India used. Officials formally labeled the general's comments as nuclear sabre-rattling. Now, that's not just a catchy phrase, it's a formal diplomatic term. It means you're using reckless nuclear threats just to try and score political points. And by defining it that way, India was framing the whole issue for the rest of the world. And here's another key part of India's strategy. They were very careful to frame this not as a one-time outburst, but as part of a much larger, long-standing pattern. Their message to the world was essentially, look, this isn't just about one guy having a bad day. This is how Pakistan's military establishment has behaved for a long time.
So India's strategic playbook here can really be broken down into 5 key steps. First, send a clear message: zero tolerance for any kind of nuclear blackmail. Second, double down on the position that sovereignty over Jammu and Kashmir is absolutely non-negotiable. Third, use this moment to highlight global concerns about the safety of Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. Fourth, maintain full military and diplomatic readiness. And finally, and this is the trickiest part, signal strength without letting yourself get provoked into a rash action. It was a firm, measured, and very strategic response.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what does this all tell us? It really just highlights the incredibly delicate, razor-thin balance in a nuclear-armed region. It's a stark reminder of how quickly aggressive words can escalate and how they can carry the potential weight of truly devastating consequences.
And all of this leaves us with a final, really critical question to chew on. In this high-stakes world of geopolitics, when leaders speak, where exactly does the rhetoric end, and where does a genuine threat actually begin? It's a fine line, and a dangerously blurry one at that.